Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be talking about a new HBO Max film, Superintelligence. Before we begin, let me know in the comments if you were looking forward to this or what your thoughts were if you've seen it already. And make sure to give this a thumbs up if you like these reviews. It helps me out immensely if you do that. Also, if you're new here and you like movies, please consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with reviews of new releases and some classics. But now, let's jump right into it. This stars Melissa McCarthy as Carol, a former corporate executive with an unfulfilling life who's selected for observation by the world's first superintelligence, voiced by James Corden. The AI follows her wherever she goes and helps her where needed, though with the catch that the end of its observation may or may not end with it taking over the world if it doesn't like what it sees. This is directed by Ben Falcone, who is Melissa McCarthy's husband, and this is his fourth feature film. And like this film, the other three, Tammy, The Boss, and Life of the Party, were also movies that starred Melissa McCarthy. I haven't seen any of those movies, though I know none of them have been received well, and if this is any indication of what they're like, oh boy. I am not looking forward to them because this movie is a train wreck. It's not so much because it's a bad premise. It's an okay setup, I guess. I've certainly seen worse, but it's so rushed and it just seems more intent on how many wacky gags it can throw at us rather than telling a good story with solid jokes thrown in there to support the story. And when I say rushed, I mean rushed. This AI introduces itself to Melissa McCarthy within like the first 5 minutes of the movie. It apparently follows her or something after she has a bad job interview in the very first scene. It wasn't very clear and we don't know how this AI came to be, but it gets things going almost instantly after that, and it will send her all over the city. And within the first 20 minutes, we have the job interview, the AI introducing itself, and Melissa McCarthy having bounced around to like 3 different locations with this thing. Now, I'm all for a fast-paced movie that doesn't waste any time, but the problem is we barely learned anything about Melissa McCarthy during all of this. We don't know much about the AI, and we have no reason given that makes us want to root for any of these characters. And most of the jokes will be these very repetitive scenarios. The AI actually does what it can to improving Melissa McCarthy's life. Since it can manipulate technology, it can send money to her bank account, it can make expensive purchases for her without bankrupting her, it gets her a new car with top-of-the-line technology, and Melissa McCarthy's entire shtick is that she's very timid and she can't believe what she's seeing, and she'll say some variation of, "Oh my god, this is crazy," over and over and over again. Her entire gimmick is that she just reacts to this wacky AI that tries improving her life and may also end up destroying humanity by the end. It is a massive waste of Melissa McCarthy's talents, because she can be funny, and she can make for a compelling lead, especially with the right material. She shocked me by just how good she was in Can You Ever Forgive Me from 2 years ago, which was a total change of pace for her. And this isn't a return to normal for her, because in her comedic roles, her gimmick is that she can be pretty loud. Here, she's just a foil for all this hijinks who says nothing beyond some variation of how she can't believe what she's seen. There's also this very forced rom-com aspect to it. She has an ex played by Bobby Cannavale who is about to move, but she's still not over him, so the AI, who knows everything about everyone, even if it wasn't actually told it, tries to get them back together, and it will literally force these very contrived scenarios between him and McCarthy. Like, there's one scene where it knows he's grocery shopping and gets her in the car and drives the car to the grocery store and won't let her leave until they set up a date. There's another scene where she leaves his house and gets back in her car, but the AI will literally eject her from the car until she gets the result she really wants. Things like that. And all the time, Bobby Cannavale, who never seems to stand still for more than half a second here, like he's always dancing with himself or flailing his arms, making corny puns. He's totally oblivious to everything. He never once gets a whiff of what's really going on. Even when a scenario is clearly fishy, he plays it off like it's nothing. The whole shtick is that he lives in this bubble and he's just a cheery guy who's totally unaware of everything, and that gets old really fast. And it's a total waste of Bobby Cannavale. Meanwhile, you also have Brian Tyree Henry as one of Melissa McCarthy's friends, and he goes totally to waste as well. The one thing I will commend this movie for is that it doesn't spend the entire film keeping the AI a secret. It reveals itself to pretty much everyone else fairly quickly, so it gets that out of the way and spares us a hokey reveal in the third act. But what happens is the government gets involved, and we get a bunch of scenes of these meetings, and Brian Tyree Henry is just there at these meetings, but he clearly has no understanding of what they're talking about half the time. But he's there because the AI revealed itself to him early on, and they may need him just in case or something. It's not quite clear. He's just there, and that's kind of the joke behind a lot of these scenes, is that he's this normal guy who's among all these government officials. Hilarious, I know. Brian Tyree Henry's normally someone who brings a lot to a film, but he has next to nothing to work with here. And with such a great cast, it's upsetting that we got one unfunny scenario after another, and it's just all over the place. It doesn't know if it wants to be this sweet romantic comedy, or if it would rather be this quirky buddy comedy with Melissa McCarthy and the AI, or if it wants to be this somewhat serious spy comedy with these government meetings. Like I mentioned, it just bounces from one thing to the next so quickly, and it feels really unfocused as a result. There are times where characters may be gone for so long that I almost totally forgot they were in the movie. There's one point we don't even see Melissa McCarthy, the main character, for a good chunk of time. I really started to wonder who was actually relevant to the plot after a while. It's just a mess. Though, if there was one other positive I had to mention, is that James Corden as the AI wasn't a bad choice, as he probably has the most to do out of everyone. A lot of his jokes fall flat, don't get me wrong there, but it's clear there was more thought put into the material for the AI over everyone else, and it shows. Some things stuck. There were a couple of times where I chuckled, mainly because the AI will make these self-aware jokes. Like, the whole gimmick is that it acknowledges it sounds like James Corden, mainly because Melissa McCarthy's character is a fan of him and wants her to be comfortable with it. So there are a few times where it'll use that to its advantage. Like, you'll mainly just hear Corden's voice, but every so often, the AI will appear on a screen in the form of the actual James Corden. And those are actually kind of funny. It's by no means enough to save the movie, but I think had the film been more focused and given these characters more personality other than just reacting to what this silly AI does, it could have potentially been a much better movie. This is a mess. It has a couple of decent moments here and there, thanks to James Corden, but those moments are few and far in between. It wastes the talents of a great cast, each of them reduced to one-note caricatures with shticks that get old very quickly. Most of the jokes fall flat, and it doesn't know what it wants to be, combining all these different elements, bouncing between them so quickly, and never taking a moment to properly flesh out its story or its characters. It's a truly terrible movie, and one I hope to never revisit. Superintelligence gets a 3 out of 10. So let me know, did you see Superintelligence, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did you find it funny? Did you like the concept, and what's your favorite Melissa McCarthy movie? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll catch you next time.